I am going to be reading Amigo by Byrd Baylor. It's one of my favorite books. I used to read this all the time to my children when they were younger. I really love this book. It's a great story about friendship and about childhood. So there you go. And I am reading this because a lot of people are quarantined in their homes, and I thought it would be kind of fun to share stories. So there we go. Amigo. His mother said, "Come, Francisco, my son, tell me why your eyes are sad, my little one." His father said, "How quiet you are. Let me play you a tune on my old guitar." Plink, plink, he strums the guitar, singing, "Troubles run fast and far, past the mountains behind a star." Plink, plink, a plink. Francisco listened to the song, and then he told them what was wrong. "You know I want a dog, any dog, a hound, a dog I'll call Amigo, and he'll follow me around. Wherever I go, he'll be there. Some days I'll follow him just to make it fair." Francisco's mother turned with a sigh. Francisco's father looked off at the sky. "No, Francisco, it's all we can do, just trying to feed your brothers and you." Francisco seldom thought about the things he had to do without, because he thought about the things he had. In his mind, he tried to add them up. So many brothers, so many jokes, so many miles of desert all around, so many cactuses, so many mountains, so many places where caves can be found, and plenty of wishes to wish on a star, plenty of songs in that guitar, but not enough money in his father's pocket. That's the way things are. Francisco's father mines for gold. He knows he'll find it before he's old, but he hasn't found it yet. So he has to say, "No, Francisco. Another mouth to feed is one more than I need. You just forget about a pet." His mother asked, "What's small and wild and can feed itself? We'll have that, my child." "But what?" Francisco frowned. "You could tame a bird, a bright wild bird with the sweetest song you ever heard." No, I can't fly. He could go much higher than I." "Up in the mountains there are wildcats. You can catch one if you're bold. Here in the valley there are tortoises 100 years old." "A tortoise is too slow for my fast feet, and wildcats won't play in the desert heat." "How about a lizard? How about a quail? How about a coyote with a yellow tail?" No, and I don't want a frog." Francisco shook his head. He had to have a dog. Suddenly his mother whirled around. Her voice came out with a laughing sound. "Ah, Francisco, my son, a prairie dog. Could that be the one?" They all laughed. "A prairie dog. It seems so funny. He's more like a ground squirrel or a mouse or a bunny than a dog. A strange little creature with fast little feet who doesn't mind the desert heat." "A prairie dog would be easy to find. Of course, I had a real dog in mind. But if I try, I think I could love a prairie dog, a tiny, black-eyed, run-around, hole-in-the-ground, squeak-a-dry sound prairie dog, a very merry prairie dog." Francisco's father said, "You'd have to win his love before you tame him." "Yes, I will win his love, and then I will name him Amigo. That's the name I was saving for some big hound, but I think it will do for a little runaround." His mother smiled. "How do you tame a prairie dog, a thing that's wild? How do you make him walk beside a human child?" "I'll give him presents like water and seeds and tall sweet weeds. I'll give him love and whatever he needs." Francisco hurried to Prairie Dog Town. Very quietly he sat down on a rocky slope to watch and wait and dream and hope. Prairie Dog Town is a town underground, all tunnel and burrow and hilly mound, the busiest town for miles around. 10 little heads popped out of the earth and looked at him curiously and jabbered furiously and frowned at Francisco for all their worth. He wanted them to know he was a friend, a brother, wanted them to see him simply as another desert creature who meant no harm. So he lay down with his head on his arm. The sun was warm. He nestled deep into clumps of grass. Time passed, and then Francisco fell asleep. When he opened his eyes, there wasn't a sound. He sat up and looked around and found one prairie dog still sitting in his place. He seemed to be studying Francisco's face. "Can that be Amigo? Does he read my mind? Does he know he's the one I've come to find?" Very gently he whispered, "Amigo." The word was so soft it could only be heard by one prairie dog and one low-flying bird. Amigo, it was half laugh, half song, the kind of word that floats along. That day, wherever Francisco went, he went with his dreams, and he went content. He went with a hop, and he went with a hope, and he jumped over rocks like an antelope. Now you know Francisco and the way he planned to tame him a friend in the desert land. But you still don't know, though you very soon will, what creature was hiding behind that hill. Look towards the mountain there, towards the sun. See that brown speck dart and run? That is Amigo. The desert is wide and the rocks are tall. You might not notice a creature so small, but that is Amigo, the prairie dog child who runs with the wind when the wind runs wild. Just 1 summer old, adventurous and bold, he's small enough to look a tortoise in the eye or exchange remarks with a passing fly, and brave enough to jump at the stars in the sky. He never really caught one, but he likes to try. Yes, this is Amigo, always full of ideas, saying the summer is his, and maybe it is, to run through. But should he be running so fast and so far? Why isn't he home where his brothers are, in the dim burrows which wind far down below the surface of Prairie Dog Town? Their old prairie dogs sit in the sun, keeping watch through the summer day, while the little ones dodge in and out like children at play. But Amigo isn't there. He's everywhere, following every path he knows. He doesn't worry. He only goes. And where is he going? What does he seek? Why does he gaze at that mountain peak? Amigo runs to a certain hill, and there he stops and waits until he hears the sound of a boy's easy laughter. And then he knows he's found what he's come after. That boy. Amigo sits quiet as stone and sees the boy walking alone, carrying a heavy pail of water down the rocky trail and singing. Ah, what a sound! Amigo found it going round his head all day. It would not go away, the sound of singing ringing in his head. He said, I know every sound for miles around, every small and quiet sound, like earthworms walking underground, and the whisper of quail, and the wet creaking wail of baby toads after rain, and the rustle of grass where the deer has lain. Yes, I think I know many a sound pleasant enough to go around, but human boys make the finest kind of noise I ever heard, better than water or wind or bird. This boy was a little thing, only so high, but he seemed to Amigo to reach the sky. Tall as a mountain, brown and strong, Amigo followed him all day long. He heard his whistle and he heard his song carried by the wind, light as a feather. Amigo said, I wonder whether he ever saw me peeping from under that mesquite tree and popping up from clumps of grass along the way to see him pass. But his mother said, Be careful, my child, a human boy is very wild. Amigo said, I'll tame him if it takes a year. The sound of that boy is all I want to hear. You can't mean that. Better go and play with the old pack rat. The prairie dogs listened with great surprise. You could tell what they thought by the look in their eyes. One finally said, as he gazed at the sun, Better learn from those who are wise, little one. Mountain is your friend. Wind is your toy. Let's stop talking about a human boy. 100 aunts and uncles and cousins agreed. That's right, they said. They wiggled their whiskers and nodded their heads. Oh, yes, that's right, they said. That's right. But Amigo told him, He doesn't look wild. I know if I try, I can tame that child. How about an ant? An ant? I can't love an ant. I just can't. How about a bee with a lazy buzz? No, I don't like honey, and he does. Play with a cricket. Play with a quail. Tame you a lizard with a sandy tail. They're all good friends, but they're just not boys, and they can't make that fine boy noise. Amigo tried to make them understand, I'm as much a part of this desert land as any mountain or grain of sand, or soft quail cry, or sunset sky, or dust devil blowing high as a bird, and that boy is a part of it too, the same as I. He's a desert thing like any other. Sometimes I think he is my brother. Amigo's mother nodded her head. Taming a boy seems odd, she said. It's never been done as far as I know, but no one's ever loved one so. And that makes all the difference. You may be the one who will do it, my son. The thing to do now is tame him, but how? What can I give him? I wish I knew. I have no treasures, not even a few. Just give him something that pleases you. Like silvery sand to hold in your hand, or a blue jay feather that floated down straight from the sky to Prairie Dog Town, or that cool green shadowy grass which grows so tall in the mountain pass and tastes of mountain water. His mother said these would surely please a boy. So Amigo scampered and ran and hopped. The sun was high before he stopped. At the very top of the mountain pass, where all the grass was sweet as honey and tall enough to hide in, Amigo took great pride that day in his work. He sniffed 1,000 blades of grass before he found the one that smelled the most like mountain water and shone like mountain sun. He took the green blade tenderly down into the valley near Prairie Dog Town, and beside the path where the boy often came, he placed the grass on a small white stone, which he always thought of as his own. As he waited, he made a kind of game of dreaming the boy was already tame and knew his name and said, Amigo. But it was no game, for the boy came along, trailing his song in the windy air. And it was no dream, for he saw Amigo there. He did not speak, he only sat very quietly gazing at the world of sun and sand, and when he left, a blade of grass was clutched in his hand. And Amigo ran home, bounding with joy, shouting, Listen, I've just tamed me a boy. And at the same time, on the same day, you could hear Francisco say, Mama, I know he's just about mine. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that fine? Francisco went back to the stone every day. He was a friend in every way. He brought wild cherries gathered in the mountains, fat dark berries that grew on sandy banks. To see Amigo eat them was all the thanks he needed. When the summer sun beat fiercely down and the heat lay heavy in Prairie Dog Town, he found a rock shaped like a cup, and every morning he filled it up with water. He kept one eye on the sky to warn Amigo when hawks flew by, and every day Amigo came closer to the place where Francisco sat, as near as that. The boy was taming Amigo. Oh, yes, that's so. And if you were watching Amigo, you'd know that he was taming Francisco. And you would think the boy wished he were tame the way he came closer and closer. Francisco took the presents Amigo left there and even stuck that blue jay feather in his hair. Many a time the boy would lie down in the tall wispy grass near Prairie Dog Town, quiet as a field mouse in its nest, like any desert creature taking a rest. Amigo liked knowing that he was near. He listened for his whistle in the summer air, and sure enough, the whistle was there. Amigo ran close to the sound. Francisco smiled, turned around, and met Amigo. And that was the way it happened that day. First they climbed a hill, they followed a bee, then they stopped to rest by a mesquite tree. They didn't talk much, for the wind was shrill. They sat there quietly, as good friends will, admiring the view from the rocky hill. Now, Francisco thought, I've tamed me a prairie dog, and he's my greatest joy. And Amigo thought, mine is the best pet. I've tamed me a boy. Amigo squeaked a happy sound, and when he was through, Francisco said, Yes, I think so too. Amigo.